Imagine your local plumbing business answering customer calls at 11 p.m., booking all the appointments, and then following up automatically, all handled with, that's right, you guessed it, AI. Meanwhile, the competitor down the street, they shut down at 5 p.m. and they lose all those opportunities. That advantage, it feels almost unfair. The rules have changed overnight. This is what small businesses across the US are already doing with AI. And the choice is now clear. It's adapt or risk extinction. Fall behind. The shift isn't coming, guys. It's already here. It's already arrived. And every day of hesitation that you make makes that gap wider and wider and even harder to close. Now, why should you even listen to us on this, right? See, while we haven't been doing this for decades, what we do have is practical recent proof. And I've guided businesses and business owners in adopting automation and AI systems across industries, ranging from retail to professional services, and we've seen firsthand how quickly the performance baseline shifts. Now, companies that once struggled to manage even simple routine tasks with human labor suddenly function like organizations twice their size without doubling payroll or overhead, right? In fact, many of our clients, they report regaining entire work weeks of productivity capacity within the first few months of implementation. It's a clear sign of how powerful these systems actually are and how they can be. This session is not about gimmicks. You will not hear surface level hacks like a very clever app you install or a chatbot that promises everything. What we're delivering here is structured masterclass. We'll walk you through how to strip needless costs first, then how to take those savings and strategically reinvest them for lasting, scalable growth. The purpose is transformation, not a quick productivity thrill that ends up fading. See, the reality is that businesses ignoring AI right now, they're already falling behind. AI isn't science fiction, and it isn't nice to have. It's weaponry. It's essential. It's the difference between competing and actually dominating. Owners who adapt today gain compounding advantages: more time, optimized costs, and sharper decision making. Those who hold back are gambling that their competitors will remain stuck in the old way of doing things. That bet is simply not safe anymore. So let's be clear. When I talk about using AI for productivity, some of the results might sound unfair. Imagine automating customer responses, freeing 20 hours a week, or using predictive analytics to anticipate demand so accurately it feels like you can see around corners. Right? These aren't far off possibilities. They're practical scenarios unfolding inside businesses right now, today, and they're available to you. So you might as well take advantage of them. By the end of this session, you'll see case-driven studies and examples of AI making small businesses so productive it almost feels illegal. Not in the sense of breaking rules, of course, but in the sense of gaining advantages so leveraged, so efficient, that the competition doesn't stand a chance, especially if they stick with yesterday's tools. The urgency is real. Every day you wait, competitors are training AI systems on their data, improving processes, reducing costs, and reinvesting into growth. This compounds over time. The gap you see today between companies just beginning and those leveraging AI aggressively will be tomorrow's chasm, and crossing it later will be exponentially harder. So, here's my promise to you guys. Across the next sections, we'll equip you with a roadmap, a guide, if you will, where to start, how to build efficiency, how to channel savings into growth, and how to sustain a competitive edge. All you need to do is stay with me, listen closely, and picture how each move fits with your business. This is how we make productivity so powerful it doesn't even seem fair. All right, so think for a moment about what really makes productivity feel impossible in most businesses. Owners are already stretched thin, and their teams are so often focused on repetitive work, all the email stack, the data entry never ends. Scheduling pulls you in all these different directions, and it's overwhelming. And customer requests compete with strategic thinking you should be doing. Now imagine, overnight, a hidden engine just started taking those tasks off your plate. Not by hiring more people, but by assigning them to something that works relentlessly, without fatigue, and at a fraction of the cost. That's what AI, artificial intelligence, has become for forward-looking businesses. It's a silent productivity engine running in the background, giving you leverage so profound it feels unfair, like I said. This advantage can seem illegal, right? Because of the asymmetry it creates. Two companies competing in the same market, selling comparable services, might look similar to the outside world. Yet one who is using AI behind the scenes begins moving so fast that the others cannot simply keep up. The answer, the customers way faster, right? They forecast demand sharper. They create marketing content at speed. And it pretty much happens overnight, right? And to the competitor, it looks impossible. Like the playing field shifted. So it's happening legally though. The workflows, they are designed around automation and machine learning. The best way to understand this is to compare the manual operations with automated workflows. Let's start with manual. A business owner has to assign someone to input invoices into their account system, one by one. That staff member may spend 3 to 4 hours per week just reconciling that data. If they miss one, it leads to errors that ripple into forecasting and payroll. Now, picture AI stepping in. Invoices are scanned instantly, data auto-categorized, cross-checked against bank feeds, and flagged for anomalies in real time. What took hours and carried risks now takes minutes, and accuracy multiplies times 10, if not more. That shift is not science fiction. It's available with off-the-shelf tools today. The difference between those two, it works, the pattern is actually dramatic, right? Multiply that across dozens of tasks: social media, scheduling, customer service responses, report gen, lead sorting, and suddenly what have once absorbed half the team's bandwidth is handled in the background. The impact is not just about having fewer tasks on your list. It's about unlocking capacity. People are no longer jammed into low-value work. They can instead apply their creativity and judgment to higher level initiatives that redistribute the work changes of the game entirely. AI also reshapes an owner time management. Many entrepreneurs think that their schedules are devoured by strategy, when in reality, operational noise takes over. Processing orders, rechecking details, repeating explanations to customers. These are all necessary, but not necessarily the best use of your energy. When AI begins handling first drafts of these processes, whether it's an email summary written to you for a chatbot, providing instant answers, your calendar opens up. Suddenly, instead of multitasking between menial and strategic, you can spend focused blocks of time on the money-making moves that truly drive growth. That sense of breathing room is often the very thing that makes owners describe the experience as shocking or unfair. So let's ground this in a practical scenario. Consider a regional service company, say a plumbing and heating business. Traditionally, incoming calls pile into the receptionist's queue. Every missed call is a missed opportunity. Every scheduling adjustment requires a manual back and forth and increases the chance someone gets double booked or even missed. Now with AI, inbound system automatically recognizes repeat customers, logs their history, and then offers next available appointments and routes urgent requests seamlessly. Instead of 3 employees juggling phones and morning to the evening, the AI system manages most of those interactions. The team now focuses on resolving complex issues and delivering superior on-site services. The result? Faster revenue cycle, lower labor expense, customer experience that feels elite, right? What looks almost too good to be true is simply the outcome of machines doing what they do best: pattern recognition, speed, and scale. Humans remain critical, but their roles shift. This creates an advantage that compounds weekly. Competitors not embracing AI are left spinning their wheels, unable to understand how others in their market operate with what seems like twice the manpower at the same cost. Now, some may ask whether productivity should be measured in dollars saved, but the real answer is that the benefits extend beyond the cost only. Because when automation takes that burden, takes it off your staff, the morale goes up, the turnover decreases, and institutional knowledge stays intact longer. Your best people stop wondering why they're stuck doing data entry and other useless things, and instead they see a pathway to growth within your organization. This tangible advantage, retaining talent while operating lean, is almost impossible calculate directly. But it's one of the true multipliers hidden within AI adoption. So why does it feel illegal? Because this type of leverage is historically rare. In previous industrial shifts, like the arrival of mass production machinery or digital spreadsheets, companies gained breakthroughs in efficiency. But is AI unique because it adapts as you use it, right? The more data you feed in, the sharper it becomes. That means not only are you working smarter today, but every single cycle moves faster tomorrow. It's a compounding productivity curve, one that the old manual way simply can't match, right? Think about the analogy of a business engine. A traditional setup is like running a factory on human labor. Alone, valuable, but limited by its physical constraints. AI is like installing turbines, powered by renewable energy. Once it's set in motion, the engine doesn't tire. It accelerates. Every piece of the business touched by AI, from marketing to operations, runs just a little bit smoother, a little bit faster. No single improvement seems miraculous. But together, the performance leaps that look surreal. That's why, if you walk into a company using AI deeply, it feels like the rules are bent in their favor, right? So, what I'm going to get across to you is, and telling you the truth is this illegal feeling, so to speak? It's productivity. It's simply a window into the new baseline. 10 years ago, posting on social platforms daily seemed overwhelming. Today, schedulers automate it entirely. 5 years ago, generating a financial projection might take a consultant days. Now, models run scenarios in seconds, depending on how deep you want to go in, right? AI is just the next step. And if you align it properly, you'll not only catch up, but you'll actually sprint ahead of the competition. So here's the key. What I'm getting through to you is that the takeaway of this productivity feels illegal with AI. Not because it breaks rules, but because it rewrites limits. The competitor, still stuck on manual workflows, think you're cheating somehow, right? But all you've done is embrace tools that process faster, learn faster, and integrate seamlessly into your routines. Now, once you actually recognize and realize that, the path to scale, it stops being about adding bodies or piling on hours. The path becomes about designing intelligent workflows where human creativity is amplified, not bogged down. And this brings us to the next stage, knowing the philosophy that AI can be your hidden engine of unfair leverage, right? Seeing where to start is another. If you want to unlock this advantage responsibly for small and mid-sized businesses, the first step isn't chasing aggressive growth right away. It's cutting operational drag and then redirecting those freed resources. That's where we're headed next. Before any business rushes headfirst into growth plans fueled by AI, there's one principle we need to establish. First, reduce operational drag. In other words, before pouring fuel on that fire, you make sure that the foundation is both solid and efficient. If revenue growth is momentum, then excess costs are what? Extra added friction. Without removing that friction, you waste what AI enables. That's why this stage matters so much. It sets the tone for lasting success. So think about your operating expenses right now. If you broke down every single dollar flowing out of your business, you'd likely see 3 main categories eating up disproportionate time and money. Can you guess what they are? Administrative tasks, marketing workflows, and customer service. Each of these areas is filled with repetitive motions. They don't create new revenue by themselves. They simply keep the lights on. The game is to streamlining them,
because every dollar saved is effectively a dollar earned. And every hour reclaimed can be channeled into growth moves, prosperous moves. So let's start with administrative work. This is the silent killer of small businesses' productivity. Email, triage, appointment scheduling, invoicing, report generation. These tasks require accuracy, but very little creative thought. A staff member could spend about half their week cycling through all of them. However, AI-based tools, document processors, and integrated accounting automations can handle these things instantaneously, instead of paying salaries for data transfers and scheduling back and forth. You transform that payroll into strategic bandwidth. Now imagine cutting 10 hours a week from just calendar management. Those hours add up to 520 hours per year, if not more. Now that's 3 additional business months reclaimed without hiring anybody new. Marketing workflows are next. Every business knows marketing is critical. Yet it is one of the first areas to get bogged down by these inefficiencies. Drafting content, segmenting the emails, analyzing campaign results. Each step historically required specialized staff. Now with AI, you can create first draft email sequences, turn raw data into audience insights, and generate ad creative samples at unprecedented speed. This does not mean eliminating marketers, not whatsoever. It means giving them leverage, like Archimedes said. Instead of spending hours adjusting spreadsheets, they can spend their best energy refining messaging or testing new offers. The cost savings come not only from reducing contractor hours, but also from sharper targeting that avoids wasted ad dollars. Now consider customer service, the area where many owners feel handcuffed, like I used to. Traditionally, you had 2 options: hire more staff to field these calls and emails, or accept longer customer response times and risk attrition. Now, both of those don't sound good, but AI-driven chatbots and service assistants break this dilemma easily. They can easily answer frequently asked questions instantly, escalate true service issues to the staff, and then track conversations automatically. One AI assistant can handle the work volume of 5 reps on routine inquiries, leaving human staff to focus on resolving complex, relationship-driven issues. The payroll savings here alone can stabilize margins to a level that makes scaling actually viable. The crucial insight is that these forms of cost cutting are not about being cheap. They're about reallocating resources from maintenance into momentum. When repetitive tasks are automated, the expenses tied to them, they shrink. That freed up money doesn't just sit in the account. It becomes working capital to fund expansion moves, right? Expand your mind too. Instead of spending $50K annually on low-value admin roles, you might reinvest half into strategic advertising campaigns and half into staff training that catalyzes long-term growth. In other words, AI doesn't just reduce costs, it reallocates them, right? So let's examine how this plays out in practice. Imagine a 10-person consulting firm spending roughly 20% of their team hours on admin coordination, right? After laying in AI that schedules, invoice routines, and automated analytics, that's 20% workload drops dramatically, equivalent to saving 2 full-time salaries. Rather than eliminating those employees, leadership shifts them into client relationship development and strategic research. The business not only trims costs, but grows revenue by deepening value to each client. That is the compounding nature of AI efficiency. Now, a lot of owners, they often ask, where should we start? And the answer lies in identifying repetitive, low-value tasks that create drag, then matching them with existing automation tools. If a process repeats weekly and follows clear rules, it's a prime candidate. So Think about employee expense reports, inventory recording thresholds, or even drafting performance summaries. These processes consume time simply because humans are doing steps that software can replicate instantly. And here's the important frame here. The goal isn't to replace staff, it's to elevate them, to lift them up, let them be more creative. When you remove those repetitive duties, employees feel like less burden, a weight lifted off. Their days shift toward engaging projects, creative problem solving, and direct revenue impact. The organization benefits twice, reducing operating expenses and higher retention. Turnover alone is one of the most expensive drains in small businesses, and AI indirectly cuts it by making jobs more rewarding. Now, let's address a financial reality, right? Many owners fear implementing AI tools are too expensive or too complex, but the affordability has shifted dramatically. Subscription-based platforms let small firms access enterprise-level automation at monthly fees often lower than what you pay for a single day of human labor. For under $1,000 per month, a business can replace tasks worth of tens of thousands of labor hours. If you view it through a return on investment lens, the math becomes clearer. The payback period is often measured in weeks, not years. Marketing and sales, where many business owners feel the pressure most immediately. Lead flow dictates revenue. Customer engagement dictates conversation and traditional approaches. Manual list building, cold calling, and broadened campaigns often drain resources without clear returns. This is the arena where AI can create the most visible, almost unfair advantages. It doesn't shave costs, it enhances your reach, personalizes your messaging, and maximizes sales efficiency. For small and mid-sized businesses, the effects can feel dramatic because every gain conversion impacts the bottom line significantly. Customer segmentation. Historically, you might run email blasts to a master list, hoping a percentage of that list engages. But AI tools analyze that large data set, the purchase history, browsing behavior, interaction patterns, to cluster customers into meaningful groups. Instead of everybody gets your same email, your system tailors campaigns based on what people are likely to value. For example, a small specialty retailer selling outdoor gear might segment its customer base into hiking enthusiasts, right? Casual campers and high-end expedition buyers. AI doesn't guess. It identifies those patterns, transactions data, and predicts preferences. Suddenly, instantly, instead of sending one diluted message, 3 targeted campaigns, each resonating with its group. Response rates, they climb. Costs go down. Engagement doubles without hiring new staff. Lead qualification? Historically, it wastes time chasing weak leads. Reps might call through entire lists, not knowing who is ready to buy. AI solves this through predictive scoring and models. By analyzing characteristics of the past buyers, the system leans and learns what a high probability prospect looks like. It then automatically scores new leads in real time. Suddenly, instead of spreading efforts across unqualified prospects, the sales team targets those who likely are ready to convert. Productivity doubles, maybe triples, because the effort is focused. For a small business where every hour of selling matters, this is absolutely transformative. Automated nurturing, many leads aren't ready to buy immediately, right? Traditionally, you would either ignore them or spend countless follow-up hours. AI changes this by creating personalized drip campaigns or sequences that adjust as prospects engage. Imagine someone downloading a free guide from your website. Instead of receiving generic emails, AI monitors their interactions. Did they open it? Did they click? What sections actually interested them? The people. They follow up. It adapts automatically, presenting information aligned with their intent. By the time a salesperson actually calls, the lead feels warmed up and informed, not pressured. The outcome, It's shorter sales, right? Those cycles are shorter. The closing rates are better. For example, consider a small e-commerce shop that sells home fitness equipment. Traditionally, they might run blanket social ads, spend a fortune, and yield moderate returns at best. After layering AI into their system, here's what shifts. First, AI analyzes their transaction database and discovers clusters. Budget shoppers focused on resistance bands, mid-range customers buying weights, and committed enthusiasts splurging on complete gyms. Then AI generates ad variations directed at each segment, optimizing visuals and copy based on real-time engagement data. Leads enter nurturing flows that adapt to behavior. Someone clicking on a treadmill, for instance, gets treadmill-specific education. Reviews and offers. Costs per click, they decrease. Engagement doubles. And what once required expensive agencies now runs semi-automatically, with one marketer overseeing. To the outside observer, it looks like business suddenly became elite at marketing overnight. So the old model relied on human labor to guess, to test, and to adjust slowly. AI ingests live performance data, instantly adjusting campaigns midstream. For example, if an ad headline underperforms after 2 days, the AI replaces it with higher converting variations automatically. What took a human marketer, let's say, a week to diagnose, AI handles continuously. That optimization saves wasted spend and accelerates your return on investment. A 10K campaign might previously return 25K. With AI-driven testing and segmentation, the same budget can generate 40K in sales. That's a 30% improvement. It's not theory. It is what the tools consistently deliver when fed proper data. Now, sales operations, marketing, isn't the only win. AI can transcribe your calls, generate follow-up summaries, and highlight objections. For example, during 10 prospect calls, AI highlights about 6 asked about integration with a specific platform. That insight guides the sales pitch, right? The marketing copy and potential partnerships. Instead of guessing on what matters most, you have data-driven clarity. And because AI can generate call recap emails instantly after meetings, reps spend more time selling and less time typing. That recovery of hours each week compounds into more deals closed, right? So consider the difference between companies here, right? Business A insists on traditional approaches. Their marketers manually draft these campaigns, and now their reps manually log lead notes, and their leadership spend a whole bunch of hours combining their reports. But Business B runs AI across its funnel. Segmentation, nurturing, recommendation engines, transcription, and call analytics. Within 3 months, Business B doubles engagement rates while reducing wasted ad spend by approximately 25%. The advantage compounds every quarter. Business A wonders why margins shrink while Business B expands without the heavy lifting. From the outside, it feels like Business B is running twice the team, but internally, the difference is AI leverage, right? Like Archimedes says, you can move the world with leverage. Accessibility is the most empowering part of its access. These capabilities are not confined to giant corporations. Small businesses can implement them through subscription-based platforms. An AI-driven marketing suite may cost less monthly than one junior employee's salary. Yet its impact is equivalent to adding an entire team of analysts and campaign managers. Return on investment becomes undeniable. What once was a blind guess, do ads even work, becomes predictable. Input dollars, it receives insight, and then optimize the scale. So, skeptics often wonder what personalization at scale risks appearing robotic. But today's AI-generated messaging is context-aware. So, for example, when a prospect asks a question through chat, AI doesn't respond generically. It references past interactions, recent purchases, and the context. The messages feel personalized, not templated. Prospects report higher satisfaction because they feel understood, they feel listened to. Conversion isn't about spam, it's about resonance. AI allows resonance to occur automatically, 24 hours a day. So, a small service firm may traditionally employ a marketing coordinator at $50K annually, per year, annually, plus $20K in agency fees. What are the results, though? Why are they even a handful of these generic campaigns, right? Manual lists, they're unpredictable returns normally, but transitioning to AI, the agency spend disappears, and the coordinator is upskilled to oversee intelligent platforms. Campaigns go live faster, data is richer, and testing is automated. Annually, they spend about $12K, and the savings immediately covers the costs. And improved campaign efficiency generates previously unreachable revenue. The coordinator grows into a strategic rather than a task executor. So morale improves, right? Growth accelerates. The takeaway is that, what does this mean for you as a business owner, right? It means marketing and sales are no longer about throwing meaningless dollars at unmeasured efforts. They are about precision, leverage, and speed. AI removes the blindfold, takes it right off. It puts data at the center of it, automates repetitive steps, and surfaces insight you simply could not see manually. That's where the so-called unfair advantage lives. It feels unfair not because it breaks rules, but because competitors without it cannot possibly match your speed of testing, or personalization, or customer engagement. They are trapped in a slow cycle, while your operations move in real time and absolute speed. But here's the absolute key transition, right? Marketing and sales might be the obvious front line of AI. And those benefits, they're enormous, right? But the compounding, amazing benefits, they don't stop there, no. Once revenue flow improves, goes up, right? The next transformation happens inside operations. Streamlining your workflow, automating reporting, and reducing admin hours take the AI advantage even further. That back office revolution becomes the hidden backbone supporting growth. And that's what we will address next. And most businesses, owners, when they hear AI in operations, their first thought is complexity. Maybe they imagine costly enterprise software requiring consultants just to install. But the truth is very different. Today's tools embed into daily workflows with surprising ease, and they address the exact drags that consume hours. Things like scheduling, reporting, compliance checks, document prep, and follow-up cycles. The core theme is this. Once you streamline with AI, your operation steps, they stop leaking time like a broken pipe. And your team is free to innovate, not only maintain. Let's start with standard operation procedures, right? Or SOPs. Every business has rules for how tasks might or must be done. Onboarding a client, submitting an order, preparing payroll, these are typically long documents, updated occasionally, and stored in a shared folder, right? But rarely is anyone excited to use them. Here's where AI creates order. Instead of combining or combing through all these statistic documents, employees interact with a system that can instantly answer what's our process for X, right? The assistant retrieves the exact step customized for context. Beyond convenience, this reduces human error, accelerates your training, and ensures consistency, even when turnover occurs. Think of it as a live, conversational SOP library at your team's fingertips. Another burden we often undercover is scheduling. Owners and managers spend hours negotiating calendars, confirming appointments, and dealing with shift swaps. AI scheduling, these platforms, they now integrate directly with email, SMS, and workflow tools. That means that the system auto-suggests optimal meeting slots, updates calendars across participants, and even considers travel time or priority weightings. It doesn't send invitations only. It negotiates conflicts silently for a retailer with rotating staff or a service provider juggling multiple techs that can recover dozens of hours monthly. Efficiency in scheduling is also efficiency in morale, because scheduling conflicts are one of the fastest ways to frustrate a team. Now let's talk about reporting. Business leaders need visibility, yet most reports take too long to generate, right? Someone spends hours pulling from spreadsheets, formatting charts, emailing summaries. By the time you see it, it's already outdated. AI resolves this instantly by auto-aggregating live data from your systems, your sales registers, the marketing funnels, supply chain feeds. Instead of asking for a Monday report, you simply ask the AI to show your current KPIs, right? You can query it then. What were our top 5 product margins this week, last month? What are the projections? And get an answer in seconds. This utterly transforms reporting from a manual burden into a real-time decision tool. Leadership shifts from looking backward at last month to acting today with precision. Compliance tasks also devour resources, whether it's HR forms, tax documents, industry-specific filings. Small mistakes create heavy burdens or penalties. Traditionally, you had either to hire a specialist or spend long nights double-checking. And AI document processors, now they read these regulations, they flag the missing fields, and cross-verify information entered against prior data. For example, if you miscategorize an employee's tax form, the system alerts you instantly. For instance, for industries like finance, healthcare, and construction, where compliance mistakes can sink profitability, automation is a safeguard. It's like having a built-in auditor working continuously without fatigue. But it shows when we step back and look at workflow end to end. Picture this, right? A routine where customers, they place an order. In a manual shop, someone receives it. They log it, and then they check the inventory. They update the ledger. They schedule the delivery, and then notify the customer. Each link requires handoffs, and any handoff invites delay or human error. With AI automation, the chain is integrated. Inventory is checked automatically. Invoices generated instantly. Shipping is coordinated with third-party systems, and customer updates sent proactively. What once took a staff member a full afternoon becomes a seamless, easy background process by AI. Multiply that by hundreds of orders, hundreds of employees, and you see how operations scale without additional labor. So here's a scenario to anchor that transformation. So for instance, let's imagine a regional retail business with 5 storefronts and an online shop. The admin tasks are inventory reconciliation, schedule coordination, vendor invoicing. They eat 40% of the managerial time, right? But leaders in the back office, more often, they're on, right, the sales floor. After implementing AI tools, data flows directly from registers to the central system. Reports generate themselves. Scheduling conflicts resolve through employee self-service portals that the AI coordinates. Vendor invoices are auto-scanned, checked against purchase orders, and payments scheduled by approval. The result? Managers regain nearly 2 full working days, 2 of them. Each week, that's 40% reduction in those admin hours, translating into lower payroll costs and more time invested in staff training, merchandising, and customer engagement. So the opportunity costs here cannot be overstated. The hours saved aren't just so-called free hours. They are fuel for higher value initiatives. So think of your business like an engine with limited horsepower. So that horsepower is wasted on admin drag, that your top speed caps low. When you liberate it, those same cylinders can power innovation. Perhaps a manager freed from paperwork designs a new store layout that lifts those sales, right? Maybe 10%, maybe more. Or a service owner now available for field visits identified processes improvements worth thousands, maybe 50,000s annually. The AI doesn't create ideas. It creates the conditions for people to see and then act on those ideas. Owners sometimes they want to push back with an objection, but objections are false. They're not real. Because my team, they already knows the routine, right? They're fast at it. True, but speed without scalability doesn't win the race. The moment volume spikes, the holiday rush, the busy season, marketing, promotion, manual systems, they strain and they just instantly break. AI workflows don't tire. They scale linearly and exponentially, whether handling 50 orders or 5,000. That resilience is the difference between capturing opportunity and actually fumbling it at the goal line. During a rush, the AI-equipped business runs smoothly while competitors drown in paperwork and the missed calls. That's why operations,
Customer experience has always been the ultimate differentiator. You can cut costs, streamline your operations, and market brilliantly. But if customers feel neglected or frustrated, none of it even matters at all. They'll quit on you. What's changed today is that AI, artificial intelligence, can provide a level of service no small or mid-sized business could realistically offer with human staff alone. They're too limited. They're too bottlenecked by themselves. Around-the-clock responsiveness, personalized recommendations, instant escalations. These were once luxuries reserved for corporations with entire departments to handle this. Now, they are within our reach, or your reach. And implementing them creates experiences so consistently strong that customers feel they've upgraded to a premium brand without paying premium prices. Let's begin with the obvious frontline chatbots, right? And virtual assistants. Traditional customer service has built-in limits. A support rep can handle maybe, one call at a time. Maybe 2 email threads in parallel, right? A chatbot, by contrast, can maintain hundreds of conversations all at the same time, simultaneously, without fatigue or negative attitude creeping into their interactions, or burnout. That means your customer never waits on hold, or wonders if their email disappeared, or feel like they don't matter, like they're only a number. And then the system, right, it responds instantly, solving routine issues right on the spot and ensuring urgent problems are escalated properly. This doesn't replace your staff, it augments them. Instead of wasting time explaining shipping policies, your team, it reserves their energy for high value cases. Customers perceive a business that is attentive, available, which directly translates into higher retention, right? Now let's layer in personalization. A decade ago, personalizing service meant remembering a customer's name or even their last order. Today, AI tracks patterns across these interactions and it recognizes their purchasing history, their browsing behavior, and even tone across messages. Consider an online clothing boutique. When a repeat customer asks about sizing, the assistant can note their prior purchases. They can recommend exact fits and even suggest complementary accessories based on their past orders. The customer feels seen, feels heard, not processed. Scaling personal care like this is nearly impossible manually. But with AI, it's absolutely effortless. So, here's a scenario to concrete this, right? A small service-based business, a boutique travel agency, for instance. It's typically operated with a team of 3 agents, each juggling dozens
of client files. Response times lagged. Research consumed hours, and missed opportunities piled up and kept piling and piling up. And after implementing an AI assistant, the experience absolutely transformed. New inquiries received immediate curated responses based on customer profile and trip type. Returning clients got destination recommendations aligned with past interests, even factoring in available loyalty credits. Agents were free to design complex itineraries instead of confirming flight times. But why does this matter? What's the result? Customer satisfaction doubled within 6 months. Repeat bookings surged and referrals increased. While headcount stayed flat, productivity and perceived service quality absolutely took off. It skyrocketed. To clients, it felt like they were dealing with a global powerhouse, not a small regional agency. The financial return from this type of upgrade is twofold. First, the cost savings appear because fewer human hours are required for these routine inquiries. The chatbot can handle what once required multiple entry-level reps working full shifts. Second, revenue grows because satisfied customers, they buy more and more often and remain loyal longer. Retaining an existing customer is always cheaper than acquiring a new one. AI's role in retention is absolutely profound because rapid, personalized responses build trust. And that trust keeps customers returning, right? Consider how response time impacts loyalty. You've likely experienced frustration when waiting 2 days for an email reply, or sitting on hold for 30 minutes. It's aggravating, even for me, especially in industries like e-commerce. Like statistics, they constantly show that the faster a business responds, the higher the likelihood of conversion and, right, repeat purchases more. It's cheaper. Now with AI, average response times shrink from hours to seconds, or whatever you want it to do. And now imagine the difference between a competitor who replies tomorrow and your brand that replies instantly with accurate, personalized information, value-based information. To the customer, the choice is obvious, right? Service is becoming less about politeness and more about speed plus relevance and value. We also need to discuss proactive engagement. Traditionally, businesses work reactive, waiting for a complaint or an inquiry before acting. AI totally flips the script. Predictive analytics can anticipate what a customer might need before they even ask. A fitness subscription service, for example, could detect that a customer's activity has decreased proactively, right? And it sends encouragement or a personalized training update. A retailer might recognize that a buyer of baby clothes is transitioning stages and send offers for toddler items. This isn't spam. It's timely assistance based on clear data signals. Now, customers interpret this as care. And why wouldn't they, right? Because in reality, it's automation playing the empathy game, but that's at scale, right? Now, skeptics, sometimes they worry that bots feel robotic. That fear made sense years ago when chatbots spat out canned lines, right? Modern AI, however, analyzes context in real time. If a customer's tone indicates frustration, the system can escalate to a human instantly and adjust language to be more empathetic, right? If tone suggests curiosity, it offers helpful guides or even visuals, right? Conversions become dynamic. Dynamic by meaning changing, not static, meaning staying the same. Customers frequently can't tell whether they're interacting with a machine at all because the machine speaks their language. What matters most is that their needs are met quickly, accurately, and respectfully. Here's another scenario. A regional dental clinic struggled with managing inbound calls. Patients wanted to schedule appointments, ask insurance questions, or even get reminders. Staff were absolutely overwhelmed, leading to long hold periods and missed follow-ups. By introducing an AI-powered voice and text assistant, routine requests like confirming appointment times or providing driving directions were handled entirely by that software. Patients even received post-visit care instructions,
tailored to their actual procedure type. Call volume to human staff dropped almost by 60%. Those employees could now focus on complex insurance claims and, the most important thing, their patient care, improving both staff morale and the patient trust. The clinic's reputation grew as the office that never makes you wait. What a great reputation that is. The perception of quality created growth, more powerful than any advertising campaign. Now this brings us to an important point. AI doesn't just reduce pain. It creates delight. So think of AI recommendation engines that surface the right product at the right time. So a boutique coffee subscription can analyze a customer's favorites, their seasonal patterns, and broader, larger market ratings to introduce new brews, tailored directly to their taste. Customers feel adventurous, yet guided by an expert barista. They enjoy the surprise. They share it with their friends. They share it socially and become promoters of that brand. Advocacy is earned not through extra employees, but through intelligent technology quietly interpreting data. Financially, the return on improving experience is substantial. Suppose your AI assistant costs $500 per month, but by increasing response speeds, and personalization, you retain just 20 additional customers annually. Now, if your average customer lifetime value is $1K, that's $20K added revenue for a $6K yearly tool. Now, that calculation, it excludes additional referrals or upsells, which often follow improved satisfaction. The ROI becomes exponential. Compare this to the rising costs of acquiring new customers via advertising, right? Or marketing. And you realize that AI in customer experience isn't optional spending, right? It's a defense armor for your revenue base. Let's tackle a possible objection here. My customers expect humans, not machines. The reality is, customers expect outcomes, not who delivers them. They want accurate answers promptly, quickly. I know I do. They want availability at odd hours when they need it. They want personalized suggestions that show that you understand them. Now, if AI delivers this better than stretched employees can, customers accept, often with gratitude and thanksgiving. Human support still plays a role, but at the right juncture, at the right time. Complex, emotional, high-value interactions. The AI clears the path so your staff can excel where it matters the most. Another dimension here is multilingual support. Small businesses rarely can afford reps fluent in multiple languages. AI, however, it can translate these systems. Now they provide near real-time multilingual chat. Imagine a local retailer suddenly able to converse fluently with Spanish, Mandarin, and French-speaking customers online instantly. The expansion of accessible market share is enormous. Instead of turning away international visitors on your website, you serve them easily, seamlessly, effortlessly. Customers feel respected, and your brand grows globally without additional hiring. The long-term strategic impact is even greater. Every interaction your AI system handles is logged. It's analyzed and compiled into insights. Over time, you see not only what customers ask, but what they value, when they engage, and how patterns change. That data becomes a decision-making compass, your guide. So, for example, if analytics reveal a surge in questions about a feature your product lacks, you gain immediate input for product development. Now, if responses show satisfaction rises when shipping updates are frequent, you adjust the workflow accordingly. Customer experience thus becomes not only service support, but a strategic intelligence system. Think of it as closing the loop. So traditionally, marketing brought people in, right? It brought people in. Operations delivered, and support cleaned up problems. Now, AI in customer service, it reconstructs the cycle. Service data flows back into the marketing campaigns, the product design, and operational planning. This cross-pollination strengthens the business holistically. The system doesn't answer questions only. It teaches you how to improve. Businesses that harness this loop
gain agility. They're fast, that the competitors cannot match. They can't keep up. So what is this overarching lesson here? AI-powered customer experience isn't merely about cost savings or convenience. It's about creating a competitive edge that customers can feel directly. When they say, that company gets me, they are likely experiencing an AI in action. Recommendations hitting the mark, right? Support being instantaneous. Interactions reflecting their history. The tools do the heavy lifting, but the human benefit is an emotional connection, the strongest thing that connects us humans. That connection builds loyalty, trust, and beyond price comparison, which is the most defensible position in any market. Now, having established how AI reshapes the customer touchpoint, making small teams feel like global service leaders, we now pivot. Because none of these improvements happen in isolation. They all rely on one critical element behind the curtain. Bet you can guess what that is. Data. AI can only enhance experiences if it has accurate, usable information feeding it, which means for customer experience to be sustainable. The next step is reframing how businesses treat their data as core currency. That's where we'll move on to next. So I want you to think about what really powers artificial intelligence. It isn't the algorithm alone. It's the information fed into it. Data is the fuel, the raw material, so to speak. The critical input without which AI cannot deliver. This is why we say data has become the new currency of businesses. Just like cash once defined advantage and later access to credit defined expansion. Today, it's the quality of your data that sets your growth ceiling. AI systems are only as useful as the data that they consume. If you feed an algorithm incomplete, inconsistent, or outdated information, the insights you get back are incredibly flawed. But when you supply accurate, structured, and comprehensive records, you break through an intelligence engine that continuously sharpens itself. The more clean data it processes, the better it becomes, compounding your advantage. That is why every business owner must start treating company data as a core strategic asset, not only administrative exhaust. Consider how most small businesses think about their data. They consider it a byproduct, right? Sales receipts, customer names, invoices, or website visits. They archive it for compliance or accounting, but rarely do they exploit it for insight for their benefit. Yet buried in those records are patterns that can predict behavior, reveal inefficiencies, and signal market opportunities. Imagine a local restaurant looking only at daily cash balances versus one that analyzes every individual order, customer frequency, and seasonal menu choices. The first sees numbers. The second sees actionable intelligence, right? AI works only for the business that supplies that intelligence. Framing data as currency means recognizing its immediate and future value. Imagine every customer interaction as a coin. When stored chaotically, those coins scatter across different drawers, CRM systems, email platforms, spreadsheets, and sticky notes on a laptop. But when structured and centralized, those coins form a treasury that feeds your AI with consistency and depth. Suddenly, what looked like fragmented activity becomes a clear picture of customer lifetime value, churn risk, and upsell likelihood. Let's walk through a concrete scenario of inventory forecasting. Suppose you run a regional sporting goods store. Historically, you might reorder products based on your gut instinct, or even seasonal traditions. Sometimes you overstock, tying up thousands of dollars in equipment no one even buys. Other times, shelves run empty, frustrating customers, and then what do? It's driving them elsewhere. With AI trained on 3 years of purchase data combined with a broader market signal, the reordering becomes predictive. The system highlights which products to restock and what quantities weeks ahead of demand.
This optimization not only reduces waste, but improves customer satisfaction. You protect profit by translating past customer behavior into future accuracy. Now let's consider risk management. A construction firm may face unpredictable project delays and cost overruns. Historical project data, weather records, subcontractor performance, material shipments, they can all be integrated into AI model to predict which jobs are more likely to run behind or exceed the budget. Then leadership can proactively intervene, reallocate these resources, or even renegotiate on the terms. Instead of firefighting at the end, the company makes preventative moves right at the start. This is not fortune telling. It is data currency powering your foresight. One of the most overlooked aspects is quality control. Many owners tell us they already collect data, but on inspection, it's scattered, duplicated, or riddled with inaccuracies. If currency is counterfeit, it has no worth. Likewise, if your customer database has duplicate records, misspelled names, or outdated email addresses, the AI insight will actually mislead you doing harm. The discipline is to clean, to unify, and to secure your information. Think of it as minting pure coinage before using it in circulation. Data also carries competitive weight. If two companies share an industry, but one has 10 times the quality records about customers, then as a result, their purchase cycles, right, and their typical objections, their retention triggers, that company actually commands greater predictability. It can market smarter, serve faster, and innovate more accurately. The other company remains blind, relying on assumptions. This gap doesn't only exist, it widens with time. Because every new customer interaction feeds the strong dataset, improving the next prediction. One of the biggest misconceptions about artificial intelligence is that it's some massive overhaul requiring consultants, weeks of transition, and disruptive change. The truth is, AI delivers its deepest value when it's woven in to your daily routines quietly, almost invisibly. I want you to think of it like adding a skilled assistant right at your side who works every single day. Not a giant project you stop everything else to implement. See, the real transformation happens when AI shifts from being something you occasionally use into something that consistently supports your decision making and operations hour by hour. So how do we actually build it into daily workflows? The answer starts with dashboards and summaries. Every morning, a business owner scans emails, reviews yesterday's progress, and looks to gauge today's priorities. That process alone can chew half an hour, maybe more. Now I want you to imagine, instead of receiving a single AI-generated executive brief on your phone, 3 paragraphs outlining yesterday's top metric, immediate action alerts, and staff updates flagged by urgency. Instead of scanning through 30 emails, 4 dashboards, you're oriented in minutes. That saves time. But more importantly, it focuses your energy on decisions rather than information gathering, pulling that all together, right? Another daily integration is alerts. Too often owners find out about problems after they snowballed: an overdue invoice, an inventory shortage, a project drifting off schedule. AI systems can sit quietly in the background, detecting anomalies and surfacing them before they become fires. For instance, an AI-linked bookkeeping tool. It might alert you that supplier payments are trending late compared to your historical average, suggesting either a workflow slowdown or a cash flow constraint. Rather than leaning and learning too late, you have days to act. These alerts aren't widgets. They're silent safety nets, keeping routine operations smooth. Now let's anchor this down with a scenario. Consider a digital marketing agency where client deliverables continuously pile up. Traditionally, the owner might check in weekly, discovering missed deadlines after clients complain. Now, by layering in AI task monitoring, every morning she receives a briefing, which ultimately is highlighting client project risk slippage.
which staff are overloaded, and which budgets approach their caps. So that same report recommends redistribution to balance workflow, right? Instead of micromanaging, she begins each day already aligned with potential roadblocks. And they're neutralized, right? Staff feel supported. Clients feel prioritized. And the owner feels in control. The AI isn't doing the creative work. It's enabling clarity without endless check-ins, right? The philosophy here is subtle but very powerful. Design structures where AI handles the load silently. It's not about flashy interaction. It's about embedding intelligence so deeply that your day flows differently. Think of it like autopilot on an aircraft, for instance. The human pilot remains essential, but systems manage altitude, the trajectory, and corrections automatically, freeing the pilot to focus on strategy and safety. Now replace aircraft with business. And that's the opportunity that AI presents. Another practice is task drafting. Leaders spend countless hours initiating things, drafting emails, writing proposals, outlining meeting notes. These first drafts consume disproportionate energy. Instead, train your AI assistant to handle this initiation. So for example, when you finish a client call, you dictate 3 bullet points into your phone. Then, minutes later, AI transforms that into a follow-up email, complete with actionable steps, right? And professional phrasing. You still approve this end, of course. We don't take the human out of it, but the cognitive strain, the load of starting is gone. Now repeat this dozens of times per week. And the compounding effect of eliminating friction is astronomical. We should also touch on document review. Right? So contracts, proposals, and vendor agreements are part of a leader's daily diet. Skimming for key terms burns time. AI contract review tools now show unusual clauses, compare language against previous agreements, and summarize obligation in plain text. Instead of spending 30 minutes carefully reading, you spend 5 reviewing flagged points. Risk is reduced, right? And time is saved, without outsourcing costly legal reviews for every routine matter. The daily benefit is attention redirected towards strategy rather than boilerplate. One overlooked opportunity is meetings. Most small businesses suffer from calendar overload. AI can directly transform this by capturing the meeting transcripts, summarizing the decisions, and then generating task lists distributed automatically right after. Instead of someone typing the notes or debating what was promised, the record is instant. This liberates leaders to focus during meetings rather than multitask as scribes. Now, over weeks, those minutes preserved accumulate into hours, which then accumulate into strategic breathing room. It's also critical to remember that AI thrives on habits. If you dip in and out sporadically, the system never learns your patterns. But by consistently using it in your routines, you train your second brain to adapt. So let's give an example here. Imagine you end every day with a quick voice prompt. Summarize key wins, issues, and tomorrow's top 3 priorities. Over time, AI recognizes patterns in your priorities, suggesting even sharper lists. These routines become self-reinforcing cycles of clarity. Consistency with small, daily rituals makes the system smarter, and your productivity multiplies. That's God math. So here's another practical case. A consultancy principal, he wanted to cut his prep time for daily stand-ups with his team. So previously, he spent an hour at night gathering all the updates, right? Now, after embedding AI dashboards, every morning began with an automated brief. Some client project statuses, budget progress, upcoming deadlines, and then staff added notes into shared spaces, which then AI condensed. His prep shrank even more to about 15 minutes. More importantly, the brief highlighted risks he hadn't even noticed. Client churn signals, projects creeping scope. That predictive perspective redirected his leadership from reactive to proactive. Over months, when the team faced heavy client demand, they stayed ahead instead of overwhelmed. Why does routine integration matter so much? Because strategic thinking requires creative capacity. If you exhaust yourself fighting email, reconciling spreadsheets, and drafting repetitive communication, your brain arrives at big questions fatigued. With AI absorbing those repetitive cycles, your mental energy remains intact for judgment and vision. Daily integration isn't about saving small slivers of time. It's about reclaiming the headspace. It's context switching less and focusing, laser focusing more. Some owners hesitate here saying, I don't want to depend on tech so much, right? But dependence is the wrong frame. Did you once hesitate to depend on calculators or GPS or even your CRM system? We adopt tools not to replace us, but to elevate us to a new level, right? AI in daily routines is no different here. It frees us from exhaustion. So our decisions, they sharpen. Viewed correctly, it's empowerment, not a crutch. Think too about continuity, right? So when AI captures and structures your daily flow, summarizes transcripts, alerts, it creates institutional memory beyond individuals. If a staff member leaves, workflows don't collapse. Knowledge persists because the system has been trained alongside of your team. Now that continuity is invaluable for small businesses, prone to disruption when even one person exits that, right? Ultimately, embedding AI into routines means designing a workday where noise is stripped away, leaving signal. Each morning starts with clarity. Each meeting concludes with action captured. Each anomaly is surfaced before it bites. The leader is no longer buried in busy work, but spends bandwidth scouting opportunities, strategizing expansion, and mentoring staff. That's the transformation. AI doesn't shave hours, it reshapes the role of leadership inside the businesses, especially small business. So when we talk about being so productive it feels illegal, this is not what we mean. Not dramatic standalone miracles, but dozens of small, silent shifts in a workflow adding up day after day. Productivity compounds when AI becomes the invisible scaffolding of every routine. It is unseen support that lets you operate like a much larger enterprise while still maintaining that speed, that agility. In the business, treating AI this way, quietly, consistently, daily, those are the ones who are pulling ahead the fastest. Now, with daily routines handled by AI structures, leaders gain the bandwidth to ask a bigger question. How can we channel all this free capital and energy into deliberate scaling moves? Now, that is the biggest question and the right question. Now, that's where the conversation is naturally going to turn us. Once you put AI to work, trimming costs and building efficiency, the next logical question is, how do you channel those savings into real growth? Cutting expenses is only half the engine. Growth requires reinvestment, and with AI, that investment becomes uniquely leveraged. The story here is scale faster with fewer resources by combining human capital with intelligent automation. Done strategically, and you achieve reach and revenue jumps that used to require massive overhead. Let's take expansion channels as our first growth lever. Traditionally, if a retail business wanted to open a second location and needed to hire full staff, invest heavily in training, add managers, and replicate systems, that overhead, it slowed down expansion and made the risk substantial. With AI, scaling can look very different. Imagine your marketing campaigns already automated, your scheduling handled by intelligent assistants, and your reporting unified. Adding a new location suddenly doesn't require a full new admin staff. Core functions stay centralized and supported by technology. Your marginal cost of opening that second location shrinks dramatically, making expansion feasible much sooner than the old model. Now consider service companies. Suppose you own a consulting practice with a few senior partners. Traditionally, you scale beyond your bandwidth. You would hire more consultants, train them, and then watch your margins shrink while waiting for productivity to catch up. Layer in AI, however, and the consulting practice scales leaner. Discovery calls are transcribed automatically, proposals drafted in minutes, and research is streamlined through AI search. A single consultant empowered by technology can serve more clients without the burnout. That means instead of doubling headcount to grow, you might add only a fraction of staff and still handle greater demand. You're no longer scaling linearly. You're scaling exponentially. You're scaling intelligently with hybrid labor, human expertise multiplied by AI. Another example comes from marketing expansion. Businesses often hesitate to explore new geographic markets because they imagine building new teams, analyzing local trends, and crafting unique campaigns. With AI's predictive models, you can test new markets digitally before committing a physical presence. You generate local creative things automatically, and then you analyze the performance in that region and the forecast demand by blending demographic data sets. If early signals look promising, then resources are deployed. But supported by AI workflows already in place, this test and scale method reduces risk and opens growth pathways, once reserved for larger corporations with market research budgets. A critical piece here is to recognize how operational headcount it scales in AI-enabled businesses. In a traditional model, a revenue of 10 mil might require 100 staff members. With AI augmenting roles, you could target the same revenue with 60 or 70 employees. That difference is not theoretical, right? Businesses adopting AI across workflows routinely report scaling orders of magnitude faster while adding less overhead. This matters because payroll is usually the largest expense category. Growth with lean headcount equals growth with stronger margins, strengthening your business and being more resilient. Now let's ground this in a scenario. Picture a small regional subscription box company. Initially, they ship 1,000 boxes monthly with 10 staff members, handling logistics, customer service, and marketing. Growth plans tend to triple volume, usually implying tripling staff. With AI optimizing demand forecasting, customer service automation, and logistics coordination, they triple shipments with only modest team increases. Say 15 staff total. Their competitors without AI might need 30. The competitive effect in dramatic lower cost per shipment, faster scaling, stronger customer satisfaction. What feels like defying arithmetic is simply a leverage in practice. Another strategic move is product line expansion. Historically, adding a product requires extensive research, supplier coordination, and marketing collateral creation. AI accelerates each of these. Market models highlight customer preferences, AI copywriting handles initial drafts of campaigns, and design tools generate product visuals. What once took 3 months of development and agency fees can compress it into weeks internally. This agility allows your business not only to respond to shifts in the consumer demand, but also proactively test offerings without being dragged down by resource bottlenecks. Speed to market becomes a scaling weapon. Reinvestment strategy also matters. The dollars you save from automation should not sit idle. Channel them deliberately, intentionally into growth amplifiers, paid acquisition campaigns, staff upskilling, or infrastructure that opens capacity. For example, money saved by cutting manual admin tasks can fund advanced SEO efforts or training your top employees in new AI-assisted tools. That reinvestment produces layered benefits, cost savings on one side, new revenue streams on the other. The compounding effect makes your growth curve way steeper than competitors stuck in the old cost-heavy model. Some owners ask whether this creates a risk of being too dependent on technology. The answer is balance. The aim is not to remove humans, but to augment them, to enhance them, to elevate them. Humans remain the source of the strategy, judgment, empathy, and creativity and problem solving. AI absorbs tasks that sap time and energy. This creates hybrid labor, where each employee has the power of a small team at their disposal. Scaling then feels less like recruiting an army and more like equipping a lean unit with advanced machinery. The philosophy here is not replacement, but like I said, augmentation, elevation. Consider the hiring process itself. Recruitment is expensive and time-consuming. AI can screen applications, highlight promising candidates, and even draft structured interview questions based on role requirements. That reduces time to hire, allowing your growth initiative to launch even faster. And when combined with AI-powered onboarding, wow, automated training modules, knowledge-based Q&A, new employees ramp up in a fraction of time. The scaling momentum accelerates because you don't stall in endless recruitment cycles. Now let's expand on a regional growth example. A chain of 3 health and wellness clinics. They want to scale into 5 new metro markets. Without AI, this would require building robust local infrastructure and adding dozens of hires. With AI, telehealth appointments absorb much of the demand, and then admin scheduling runs centrally. Customer acquisition uses predictive targeting, and local staff handle only in-person care. Instead of adding 50 people, they expand with 20, right? Cost per clinic launch drops. Revenue potential climbs. Scalability accelerates. Competitors without AI stare in disbelief as one lean organization enters multiple markets simultaneously. Another dimension of scaling with AI is productizing services. Think of professional firms, consultants, coaches, legal advisors. AI allows them to convert expertise into semi-automated products, digital reports, scenario simulations, automated compliance checks. What once scaled only through selling, right, more hours is repackaged as scalable service. This extension multiplies revenue without linear increases in personal labor. The combination of human touch and AI-delivered product is where new scalable revenue streams emerge. Now, financial leverage is key here. When you achieve more output with less input, profits scale disproportionately. For instance, if revenue grows 30%, but overhead rises only 10% because AI absorbed that extra load, the net profit grows at a multiple. That margin expansion compounds year after year, funding more innovation, more creativity. In competitive markets, margin strength is survival and strength. AI-enabled scaling is not just about bragging rights. It's about building a durable financial moat. So let's address the skepticism, right? Call out the objections. Owners often worry, will this really work for my size business? The evidence suggests yes, because today's SaaS platforms democratize access. Subscription licensing means even solo entrepreneurs can tap AI firepower that Fortune 500 companies once paid millions to develop. Scaling moves aren't only viable, they're within reach for any small or medium-sized business, willing to reorganize around them. It's no longer the biggest firms that hold the advantage. It's the one who leverage tools the fastest and reinvest wisely. So what's the overarching insight here? Scaling with AI isn't about reckless acceleration. It's about removing drag, reallocating capital, and expanding your reach with precision. Hybrid labor models let you hire selectively while amplifying the output. Expansion no longer requires a bloated overhead. Service models transform into productized assets, and growth investments, fueled by cost savings, hit harder because they're deployed through sharper AI-driven channels. Scaling, once the game of the strongest balance sheets, has become the game of the shrewdest strategies. With AI as your amplifier, you spend less, but you achieve more. Your competitors may think you're pushing so hard and pushing boundaries unfairly. The truth is, you're simply capitalizing on the current weapons that they refuse to wield. And that advantage compounds with every quarter that passes. Whenever we introduce AI integration to business owners, we encounter familiar patterns of hesitation. These objections often sound rational on the surface, but in truth they're rooted in outdated assumptions. If you're feeling these reservations yourself, know this: you're not alone, and most of them dissolve once we reframe them. Let's walk through the most common ones together and then build a mindset shift that creates confidence instead of doubt. The first and loudest concern is usually this: isn't AI too complex for my business? Many owners picture PhD level coders, expensive consultants, and endless technical jargon. They worry they'll get lost in the setup. The reality is far different. Modern AI tools present user-friendly dashboards, no more complex than the bookkeeping CRM software that you already run. Think about email marketing back in the 90s. It required custom code and technical staff. Today, anyone can log into a platform, drag and drop some templates, and then just click send, and it reached thousands of people. AI has reached the same tipping point. Platforms are designed for accessibility. You don't need to code or build models. You simply set goals, connect existing systems together, and let the AI optimize around them. Complexity is not in your lap anymore. It sits silently in the tool's architecture. Another major fear: what if this replaces my team? Well, good, but this taps into deeper concerns about loyalty and culture. Owners don't want to gut their workforce in the name of efficiency. Here's the truth: AI is team augmentation. I said it before. Elevation, not elimination. The whole point is to elevate the staff to higher level work while unburdening them for repetitive cycles. Think of it as providing each employee with an intelligent assistant who never sleeps. Instead of spending 3 hours on manual data input, they delegate that task to an AI, then dedicate their time to engaging customers, solving creative problems, or designing and creating. It's far from replacing your staff. This support makes their jobs more meaningful. In fact, many organizations see retention increase because employees feel they're actually growing in value rather than trapped in drudgery, meaningless work. Then there's the question of ROI, right? Is the investment worth it? For many owners, cash flow is already tight, and the thought of paying for subscriptions, training, or integration, it feels too risky. The key is to frame adoption like any other capital improvement. If you purchase a new piece of equipment that instantly boosted production by 30%, you'd see its value. AI functions the same way, only across administrative marketing and operational lines simultaneously. We've seen countless cases where monthly tool investments under $100 return savings of $50K or more annually. That's nuts. When measured in terms of labor, equivalent, and opportunity capture, the payback period is often measured in weeks. If the ROI looks uncertain, the likely issue is misalignment between tool and process, not lack of fundamental value. So let's also address the emotion behind these concerns. At its heart, resistance often comes from fear of losing control. Owners are used to seeing staff at desks and spreadsheets on the screens. Handling work to an unseen algorithm feels like relinquishing oversight. But the opposite is in fact true. AI platforms amplify visibility. Dashboards give instant reporting. Audits tracks every automated step. Alerts notify you rather than anomalies, right? Or at anomalies, rather. Rather than blind trust, you gain sharper transparency. It's like installing sensors in a factory. You no longer hope production is steady. Oh, it is, instantly. That's what AI does for your workflows. Some objectors frame it through industry uniqueness. My business is different. Tools like these, they won't fit, they won't work. We hear this across sectors. Law, construction, healthcare, creative agencies. Every industry believes its problems are unique, when in fact 80% of these workflows are repetitive across the board, and it makes them feel like they're productive when they're not. Scheduling, invoicing, lead qualification, reporting, these are universal. The specialized 20% still benefit from AI augmentation by freeing the bandwidth to focus where the true expertise is needed. The construction firm may say permits are too nuanced. Yes, but the document prep, the data entry, and compliance checking are the same patterns AI actually excels at. An attorney might say contracts are too bespoke. True. But summarization, precedent research, and clause comparison are highly repetitive and safely automated. What matters is recognizing AI doesn't have to do everything to be transformational. It only has to relieve the repeatable burden, right? The repetitive stuff. We must also confront the myth of depersonalization. Some owners fear that customers will feel ignored if robots enter the experience. Yet research and practical examples confirm the opposite and the reverse of this. Customers care about speed, accuracy, and relevance. They don't demand that every shipping confirmation or FAQ answer come from a human. What they demand is when they truly need human assistance, staff are present and capable. By letting AI cover repetitive exchanges, your people are liberated to give deep personal attention where it matters most. The net outcome is more humanity, not less. Customers perceive responsiveness and empathy not because AI pretends to care, but because your staff are less overwhelmed and more attentive where critical. Let's use an analogy here. Imagine AI has a co-pilot in aviation. Pilots don't protest autopilot systems as a threat, do they? They actually embrace them because this technology, it keeps altitude steady, adjusts for the crosswinds, and manages tedium. The pilot remains in charge, making the real decisions, handling the emergencies, and guiding strategy. But the repetitive workload is minimized. The flight becomes safer and smoother, and frees the pilot. In business, AI is the co-pilot, ensuring routine stability. While you and your staff navigate vision, creativity, and customer relationships, it is not a replacement, it's a reinforcement. Another subtle objection we hear is cultural. My customers, my staff, we always have done it this way. Change itself feels disruptive, but it's inevitable. Here, leadership posture matters. The businesses that thrive are those where leaders frame AI as growth, not upheaval. Just as we shifted from handwritten ledgers to digital spreadsheets, from physical ads to digital campaigns, we will now shift from pure manual workflows to AI-assisted systems. Staff don't fear progress when they see the clear benefit to their daily stress levels that go down. Customers don't abandon you when service gets faster and more tailored. When implemented thoughtfully, the culture grows seamlessly. It's important to spot when objections are protective rather than practical. For example, when a manager insists we can't automate this, it requires judgment. Often the deeper fear is losing relevance. The antidote here is clarity. Judgment stays firmly in human hands. Automation covers the scaffolding, so managers apply judgment sooner with sharper and more complete data. This is not replacement, it's elevation. Once staff experience this shift, the fear evaporates. They realize AI is a tool that makes them look good, not redundant. Finally, let's tackle trust itself. Business is about relationships with staff, with customers, with partners. Many owners ask, can trust really be built on systems? The answer lies in dependability. When your invoices arrive correctly, every time, when your replies are instant, when errors shrink dramatically, that consistency builds trust more reliably than personality alone. Staff trust leaders who free them from the drudgery. Customers trust companies that answer fast and accurately. AI simply provides the environment where this dependability can flourish. Paradoxically, trusting the technology results in deeper trust between humans. So here's the mindset shift. Objections are natural, but they often reflect yesterday's reality. Today's AI is accessible, affordable, augmentative, and trust-building. Complexity has dropped. Costs are low. Humanity is strengthened. And leadership control is tighter through better visibility. Owners who cling to old fears lose competitive ground daily, while those who reframe these objections to gain compounding advantage. As we move forward, carry this conviction. Every concern you may feel has an answer grounded in reality. The bigger risk is not adopting wisely, but hesitating while competitors adapt boldly. Fear holds no return. Adoption does. And that brings us directly to the pressure point that defines this era. Hesitation is no longer neutral. It is harmful. We must confront the urgency. The analogy history gives us this stark. Industries that resisted past technology shift didn't just lag. They vanished, non-existent, and that's the pivot we'll make next. History has a way of exposing which businesses saw change as a threat and which ones recognize it as a doorway. Think back to the late 90s. As the internet gained traction, entire industries dismissed it as a fad. Bookstores, video rentals, print media. The operators who failed to digitize, who believed customers would always prefer the old way, disappeared almost overnight. Others, sometimes smaller and less resourced, seized the internet early and expanded into empires. The pattern is unavoidable. When new infrastructure arrives, it does not politely knock. It demands transformation. Artificial intelligence is that infrastructure right now. And the urgency to adopt isn't intellectual, it's competitive. It's a little bit of both, really. Look around your own industry. Even if you haven't moved forward with AI yet, rest assured that some of your competitors already have. They may not announce it in press releases, but behind the curtain, automation is shaving their response times, shrinking their costs, and extending their reach. Each day you hesitate, the gap between you and them compounds. It grows. And it doesn't compound linearly. It compounds exponentially. That is the hallmark of machine learning. They get sharper the longer they run. So not only are you behind today, but catching up tomorrow will take disproportionately more time. Let's illustrate with a scenario. Imagine two regional accounting firms. Firm A leans on older routines. Dozens of staff processing client documents manually, reviews happening late at night, invoices drafted by hand. Firm B integrates AI for document recognition, anomaly detection, and report drafting. In year one, Firm B saves 20% of labor costs. By year two, the data compounding, their accuracy rates rise dramatically. Errors shrink, clients take notice, and referrals surge. Firm A has added no new overhead, but suddenly their margins are squeezed. They may still be in business, but the value perception in the local market already tilts toward Firm B. Within 3 years, Firm A is no longer price competitive, no longer speed competitive, and no longer able to attract talent who want to work with efficient technology. What was once a minor hesitation snowballs into existential risk. This is why we describe hesitation as very dangerous. It's not neutral. Failing to adopt means sliding backwards relative to the pack. Standing still in a racing environment is still falling behind. The same way retailers lost to e-commerce en masse, firms today risk become invisible to customers expecting 24/7 digital responsiveness. In a world where the buyer gets recommendations instantly, next-day service instantly, and self-service portals instantly, any company responding on a 2-day cycle looks archaic. Perception of slowness creates churn faster than price changes ever could. Some leaders ask, can I just wait until AI becomes more regulated, more mature, more mainstream? The answer is that by the time a technology is fully standardized and safe, so to speak, all early advantages are gone by the competitors. Regulation will eventually shape the rules, yes, but players who learn to operate under today's growing environment will dominate tomorrow's stabilized one. Think of mobile apps. By the time industry rules were established, the companies already owning the app ecosystems were uncatchable. The safest approach in business is rarely waiting. It's controlled adoption now with continuous refinement. Consider the cost of missed opportunity as another factor. Each lead, not nurtured by AI, is a potential client lost to someone who responded faster. Each hour staff spend on manual reporting is an hour not spent creating value. Each customer who turns because service felt slow is one whose lifetime revenue permanently leaves your balance sheet. These losses don't show up instantly. They accumulate quietly behind the scenes until one day the financial reports reveals a structural gap you cannot close. By then, competitors using AI have already banked the loyalty and revenue streams that you forfeited. Urgency, then, must be understood as survival. We no longer live in a market where technology is optional. We live in a market where technology adoption is the baseline competence. The businesses that fail to comprehend this won't merely operate less efficiently, they will exit the market altogether, absorbed by those who embrace the reality shift. The reality may sound stark, but history confirms it repeatedly. Railroads over stagecoaches, electricity over a kerosene lamp, spreadsheets over ledgers. Each tech leap renders old systems obsolete faster than their defenders believed possible. The risk is amplified when we factor in customer expectations. Modern customers don't benchmark you against peers in your own town. They benchmark against the best interaction they've had anywhere. If global e-commerce giants provide instant updates, round-the-clock availability, and personalized suggestions, customers will subconsciously expect the same level of care from their local providers. Saying, but we're a small business, does not excuse delays in their minds. AI closes that experimental gap affordably. Failing to close it drives attrition. Keep in mind, customers rarely announce their intent to leave. They simply fade to the competitor who is faster, clearer, and more relevant. This brings us to leadership responsibility. Owners who delay cite caution, cost, or culture, yet the cost of adopting thoughtfully is minuscule compared to the cost of missed adoption. Waiting is a price tag. It doesn't present on invoices, just on invoices. It shows up in attrition curves, opportunity costs, and competitor advantages. Culture, too, can adapt. Employees resistant to change often become advocates once they experience what life feels like without the repetitive drudgery. Leaders don't protect culture by freezing it in time. They protect it by providing tools that make work more fulfilling, more purposeful. Urgency also comes from capital markets. Investors, lenders, and strategic partners increasingly view AI readiness as a sign of future visibility and viability. A company presenting outdated operations signals risk. A company demonstrating automation signifies resilience. As capital grows, selective, your adoption pace can determine whether you draw investment or get bypassed. Survival is not only about customers. It extends to the financial ecosystem evaluating you. Every decade features an inflection technology. We are living inside one. Standing still is no longer safer than moving. The question is not, will AI transform business? That's decided. The question is, who will still be relevant once transformation is the standard? Your role as an owner is to ensure that answer includes your company. So here's the takeaway, right? Adapt now, even in the tiny incremental steps. Pivot small, right? Do internal automations, treating data as currency. Embed AI into daily routines. Each step compounds into your positioning for your business, for your durability. Don't mistake inaction as safety. In this environment, inaction is the riskiest choice available. The next 3 years will separate firms into two camps: those leveraging AI as hidden engines of scale, and those wondering why customers, staff, and cash flow slip through their fingers. Which camp you land in depends entirely on whether urgency translates into present action. Let's bring all the threads together now. Throughout this masterclass, we've moved step by step, stripping away cost drag, redirecting savings, scaling marketing and sales, automating operations, elevating customer experience, recognizing data as currency, weaving AI into daily routines, and then channeling that into strategic growth. At each step, we've built the case that AI isn't novelty, it's infrastructure. And right now, before we move into its final action, right, it's important to integrate these lessons into a unified framework, a blueprint, if you will. You can apply starting today, right now. The first point to anchor is sequence. Sustainable AI adoption follows a clear order: reduce costs, reinvest savings, and then scale. In practice, that means you don't chase shiny tools at random. You start by identifying repetitive tasks, burning cash. Once you cut that drag, you free capital and time. And then you ask, where can that capital be invested to generate even higher returns? Marketing precision, sales acceleration, regional expansion, all of these become viable because the foundation is lean. Scaling without cutting costs first leads to fragile growth. Scaling after reducing the drag leads to durable growth. Second, position adoption is inevitable. Growth rather than optional enhancement. Just as digital spreadsheets replace ledgers and websites replace phone books, AI is replacing manual workflows. Owners who frame adoption as an experiment undermine its priority. Owners who frame it as the baseline of business survival accelerate internal alignment. Staff no longer wonder whether automation is a side project. They understand it is the operating system of the company. When leaders present AI as the natural next step in business maturity, resistance shrinks. Third, re-anchor our core promise. Productivity with AI feels illegal, not because it bends rules, but because it produces advantages that competitors who ignore it simply they cannot match. Every area we've examined demonstrates this. Customer service responsiveness measured in seconds instead of days. Marketing campaigns optimized in real time instead of quarterly. Managers freed from 40% of admin work, scaling into new markets with half the usual hiring. These aren't hypothetical. They are available advantages. Integrating them into one framework creates the impression of business gravity suddenly altering in your favor. Competitors believe you must be cutting corners when in the reality you're cutting the noise. Fourth, remember that leverage is multiplication, not subtraction. Many owners begin automation conversations fearing job cut costs or cultural dilution. Yet the strongest result we observe repeatedly is job enrichment. Staff once stuck in admin grind are reallocated to customer strategy, creative campaigns, or innovation councils. Experience shows retention strengthens, morale improves, and the cultural message is clear. Your worth is not in repetitive keystrokes, but in insight, in creativity. This reframing turns AI adoption into talent magnets. Prospective hires see a company deploying advanced tools and conclude, this is where I can grow. Now, let's map the practical next steps. Step 1 is assessment. Audit operations for repetitive, rule-based tasks. Each department, you got to ask them, what consumes hours weekly that requires little human judgment? Create a list. Step 2 is alignment. Match those tasks with AI tools already proven in the market. Subscriptions for scheduling, invoice automation, customer chat. Step 3 is pilot. Choose one workflow, implement a tool, and measure the hours reclaimed. Measure them. Step 4, reinvestment. Consciously channel the freed capital into growth levers, advertising, training, or expansion initiatives. Finally, step 5 is iteration. Do it again. Expand adoption while continuously refining based on staff feedback and performance metrics. This staircase approach matters. It creates proof, early builds trust, right, inside the organization and funds further adoption with its own savings. Leaders who want to overhaul everything at once often overwhelm the staff, and sometimes themselves. Leaders who build sequentially create momentum. Each successful application demonstrates the power of AI, turning skeptics into advocates. The cultural snowball is just as important as the technical tools themselves. Also, think in terms of compounding returns. Just as financial investments grow through reinvested interest, AI adoption compounds through reinvested gains. An assistant that saves 2 salaries worth of admin labor funds, an ad campaign that doubles revenue. That revenue surge justifies deploying customer experience assistants, which then lift retention. Those gains finance entry into new markets. At each cycle, savings and gains compound, creating a growth curve impossible in manual environments. This is why early adoption is very urgent and compounding advantages favors the starters. A second layer to consider is strategic positioning. What story will you tell customers, investors, and staff? A transparent message is very powerful. We are adopting AI not to replace people, but to serve people better, customers and staff alike. With customers that communicate speed and care. With investors that communicates resilience. With staff that communicates growth opportunities. Now, framing them properly, your AI initiative and narrative becomes a trust-building narrative, not a disruption. Now reflect on your role as an owner or a leader. You are not simply installing software. You are architecting a new operating environment that requires combining tactical adoption with visionary signaling. Your team must see you as steady, focused, and prepared. AI integration succeeds not from technical brilliance alone, but from leadership, confidence. When you trust yourself, when uncertainty arises, staff take their cue from you. If you frame each move as an advancement, not experiment, momentum continues. Here's the synthesis. AI is no longer confined to trimming around the edges. It is core infrastructure enabling businesses to operate leaner, scale faster, and serve deeper. The transformation is total, but achievable step by step. And that journey does not require you to walk alone. Guidance matters. Expertise matters. Having a partner who has mapped this terrain accelerates success. That's where our consulting framework comes in, to act as a translator, strategist, and integrator, ensuring your business gains leverage rather than missteps. So, as we prepare to close this out, we re-envision what your future looks like when the integration is complete. Cost streamlined, customers delighted, staff uplifted, and data flowing as currency. Daily routines amplified, growth moves compounding. This is not fantasy. It is a design you can begin today. The message is simple. Extreme productivity may feel almost unfair, but is entirely available to businesses willing to act. Everything we've covered leads us to a simple but pressing conclusion. Artificial intelligence is no longer optional. It is the accelerator that reduces costs, unlocks your bandwidth, and creates a competitive edge that compounds quarterly, yearly. You now understand how AI can restructure every layer of operations, cutting admin drag, enhancing marketing, automating workflows, delighting customers, and turning raw data into strategy. The question before you is not whether AI works. We've seen ample proof that it does. The question is whether your business will reclaim this advantage before your competitors do, and they'll solidify their lead. So let's restate the transformation plainly. With AI integrated, your business works leaner and responds faster. Every day starts with clarity, not noise. Staff are uplifted and elevated because drudgery disappears, allowing them to focus where they can shine. Customer experience and responsiveness and personalization historically out of reach for small teams. Costs shrink while revenue expands. The outcome is that remarkable sense of productivity that almost feels unfair or illegal. Except it's entirely legit. But remember, waiting costs more than starting lean. Every week of hesitation allows competitors to sharpen their own systems, train their algorithms, and capture customers who might have been yours. Lost leads, missed efficiency gains, and rising labor expenses quietly accumulate, even if you don't see the bill immediately. Delaying adoption does not preserve safety, it erodes it. Choosing to act now isn't about chasing the hype. It's about protecting your relevance in tomorrow's market. Here's the action step that actually really matters. Begin with a pilot. Identify one area of repetitive costs inside your operations, then implement a proven AI tool to absorb it. Document the results. Time saved, money preserved, energy reclaimed. Once you see tangible proof, reinvest those gains deliberately into growth moves such as sharper marketing or marketing expansion. With each iteration, efficiency funds more innovation, creating a cycle of compounding strength. You don't need to navigate this alone. Our framework exists to guide businesses through this transition with clarity, assessing workflows, matching tools, and ensuring adoption supports culture rather than undermines it. To explore these strategies, apply directly to your situation, right? The next step is to schedule a consultation or a pilot assessment. We translate vision into executable plans, letting you focus on leading while the systems run beneath you. So let's end confidently here. The future of business productivity will not be evenly distributed. It will belong decisively to those who act now. AI is here. The competitive gap is already widening. The transformation is available, but only to firms willing to adopt it thoughtfully and immediately. If you want your business to thrive in that landscape, then take action today. Begin your pilot, cut the drag, reinvest savings, and watch your productivity compound into an undeniable advantage. The future belongs to the businesses strong enough to move first.